As the ongoing debt ceiling debate continues, President Biden has renewed his claim that Republicans want to make cuts to both Social Security and Medicare. Now, you remember that in his State of the Union address this week, the president originated this claim, which he later walked back. But yesterday in Florida, he repeated this line of attack. And this comes even as this week, House Republicans released a list of proposed spending cuts that do not include these benefits, and instead targeting wasteful, inefficient, and unnecessary federal spending. This includes the millions in LGBT and DEI special interest projects earmarked into last year's $1.7 trillion omnibus spending bill. Joining me now to discuss this and more is U.S. Representative Ben Cline. He serves on the House Budget Committee, the House Appropriations Committee, and is the chair of House Judiciary's new subcommittee on responsiveness and accountability to oversight. He represents the 6th Congressional District of Virginia. Congressman Cline, welcome to Washington Watch.
Thanks, Joseph. Good to be with you.
It's good to have you. Now, the House Budget Committee this week released a detailed list of cuts. In addition to targeting woke spending, also capped Obamacare spending, focused on waste and fraud. Tell us more about what's happening here.
Joseph, we've seen trillions in wasteful spending over the last 4 years of Nancy Pelosi's speakership, 2 of those under Joe Biden's presidency. The economy can't take any more of this wasteful spending. It's crowding out necessary programs. And so if we are to have a debt ceiling increase, it needs to be accompanied by some changes to the way that this Congress operates, and we need to restore some fiscal responsibility to the process.
Now, one of the things that Republicans I specifically identified is woke funding, which seems to be a new term. Elaborate on that a bit, if you would. Well,
what we found is that funding that goes to various agencies across the federal government, from transportation to education to healthcare, even to agriculture, you're seeing bureaucrats in Washington dictate terms and conditions of these grants that are making them contingent on certain types of liberal policies being adopted by the grant recipients. We just saw today that Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg was talking about only granting infrastructure improvement money to ports that encourage diversity and equity. So whatever a port can do to encourage diversity and equity, I don't know, but those kinds of strings need to be eliminated, and we need to really get rid of all of the woke culture that's infiltrated government from top to bottom.
Now, perhaps different colored ships would accomplish that goal of the port's DEI objectives. I share your concern about what that actually means in practice, but certainly there is kind of a totalitarian instinct there for quotas of all kinds. But you're targeting these cuts, these proposed cuts at the moment. Do you sense there's any kind of agreement? President Biden has emphasized in the last week his desire to work with Republicans, to be bipartisan. Do you sense that there's any common ground here with the Democrats on some of these cuts?
Well, his rhetoric surrounding bipartisanship was very brief in his State of the Union, and it was followed up by attacks on Republicans, some sitting right there in the chamber. We responded and were castigated by the White House for actually daring to respond when he lied directly to the Congress about not only our intentions to cut Social Security and Medicare, which we don't have, but also exaggerating about things like not needing oil in 10 years' time. That was the laugh line of the night. You know, these electric cars that he's so fond of are going to have to ride on tires made from rubber, made from oil, and roads made of pavement made from oil bases. So it really doesn't make any sense. He wasn't making a whole lot of sense. He was really bouncing between shouting and whispering, and it was an uncomfortable situation for those of us watching him. Really making a sad performance and hurting our ability to make a bipartisan agreement on the debt ceiling.
Well, to that point about the way that he really is trying to make Social Security and Medicare a political issue right now, he seems to be, frankly, taunting Republicans. Let's play clip one, and then I want to give you a chance to respond to this.
We saw on Tuesday night Republicans don't like me being called out on this. They were not very happy with me pointing this out. But their words speak. Look, I know that a lot of Republicans, their dream is to cut Social Security and Medicare. Well, let me say this. If that's your dream, I'm your nightmare.
Congressman Cline, what's your reaction?
Well, it just shows that the president's living in an alternate reality. He is living in a world where he thinks that Republicans dream about cutting Social Security and Medicare, when in fact, we want to secure Social Security and Medicare, save it from being hurt due to rapid increases in inflation, eroding the benefits that seniors receive due to these massive spending increases that Biden himself is pushing. So the Democrats are really undermining Social Security and Medicare programs, and Republicans are committed to keeping them, saving them, and improving them for future generations.
And let's talk about this a bit, because Medicaid and Social Security are a significant part of the budget. Now, the country has more than $30 trillion in debt, most of which has been accumulated in the last 15 years. And in addition, when Social Security was created, there were 159 workers for every beneficiary of Social Security. So 159 people paying into the system for every single beneficiary. Now that number is under 3, fewer than 3 people paying in for every recipient. Can we address the financial challenges that the country is facing, including programs like Social Security and Medicaid or Medicare, without making reforms to them?
Well, the Social Security and Medicare programs are due to become insolvent in the next decade. So we are going to have a conversation about saving those programs. And when Democrats are undermining the stability of those programs, those benefits are worth less and less to seniors, thanks to inflation running rampant. And the Democrats just want to increase taxes and increase spending and make the problem that much worse.
Yeah.
Republicans want to have a long-term conversation, but right now for the debt ceiling, we are not considering anything related to Social Security or Medicare. We can increase the debt limit, but only if we see commitment to balancing the budget long-term and making those decisions that are necessary when it comes to wasteful and unnecessary spending.
Is that a difficult conversation to have in Congress, to just confront the cold reality of the financial situation in these programs when the American public, frankly, likes all those benefits?
Well, it's a difficult conversation to have about whether the sky is blue or the grass is green. Republicans and Democrats disagree about everything, but one thing we all agree on is that Social Security and Medicare are essential programs, and we are committed to protecting them as we have these discussions about increasing the debt ceiling.
I want to switch topics on you for our last few minutes here. The former FBI Special Agent Nicole Parker testified yesterday at the House Select Subcommittee on the weaponization of the federal government. Here's part of what she had to say. Let's play clip 2.
Every day, I woke up and I embraced being an FBI special agent until things changed. Over the course of my 12+ years, the FBI's trajectory has transformed. On Bureau, the Bureau's mission remained the same, but its priorities and governing principles shifted dramatically. The FBI became politically weaponized, starting from the top in Washington and trickling down to the field offices.
Congressman Cline, is she just a disgruntled former employee, or is she identifying a real problem?
Well, she is identifying a real problem, and it's becoming increasingly clear that the Bureau has been politicized and weaponized and has targeted not only right-wing media, but worked with social media, Twitter and other networks to ban conservative viewpoints. And so Jim Jordan, as chairman of Judiciary and as chairman of the Select Subcommittee, is going to get to the bottom of it. I'm chairman of a subcommittee that's kind of the enforcement unit for this retrieval of documents. So when he asks for testimony, when he asks for information, we hope that we will be getting that information from the Department of Justice. Otherwise, my subcommittee will leap into action to take these legislative aides from Department of Justice up to the Hill to get their testimony and hear from them as to why they shouldn't be held in contempt or further interviewed about why they're not cooperating.
Well, there's a lot of us interested in the answers to those questions, but there's a lot of opposition to the questions being asked. And that Senator Chuck Grassley indicated that the opposition to these inquiries is meaningful to him. Let's play clip 3.
I've ran countless investigations. In the past few years, I've never seen so much effort from the FBI, the partisan media, and some of my Democrat colleagues to interfere with and undermine very legitimate congressional inquiries.
Congressman Cline, do you think the intensity of the opposition to these inquiries is evidence that we're kind of over the target here?
Well, that is an indicator that you're hitting close to home when you do get such opposition, not just from the Department of Justice when it comes to providing the documents that are being requested, but also the partisan rhetoric from the Democrats, from the White House, from the media. It is disconcerting, and I share Senator Grassley's concerns. It's my hope that we will be getting the information that we're requesting, and that we'll be getting the answers that, quite frankly, the voters and Americans deserve.
That's right. In about 20 seconds, can Congress do anything about this with this information, or is this just about making the public aware so they can do something about it at the ballot box?
Well, it's my hope that we can make a difference by having that discussion with the Department of Justice, that the information that's provided will give the voters the information that they need because they deserve to have transparency in their government. That's what voters want. That's what people want.
Fortunately, we are out of time. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.